Right? And I'm not playing no games. Yeah.
Greetings and salutations, folks. Hope you're all doing well. I am Pops, and welcome to another special interview with a comic book creator, Tom Stenger. He's with us. We are going to talk about his Indiegogo campaign, the Ante-Steam Junk Western comic book. The campaign is already live. In fact, we are inches away from the finish line here to get this baby going to print. So we'll talk about that, get to know Tom a little bit more, talk about the creative process and his journey. So Tom, first and foremost, thank you, my friend, for our scheduling is always not always easy to manage, and I appreciate you juggling that for me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's absolutely awesome to get to know you a little bit, and it'll be fun for everybody to do the same, whether they're catching this with us live or they're going to catch it after the fact. So, and there's the man, the myth, the legend himself, the Jinja Ninja. How are you, my friend? Let's see if it is 7:31. Let's see, 5:31 my time. So, man, it's getting a little late there. Right? Is it like 6 in the morning there?
Yeah, 6:30 in the morning.
All right, so 6:30 in the morning, early morning. That's good. That's good, my friend. So thanks for hanging out with us, man. So, all right, before we get to the book itself, talk about Tom the writer. Like, did you always write? Is it kind of like a career? Like, where are you at? And like, how did you get into writing per se?
Well, I basically I had a idea in my head, a story in my head, and so I mean, okay, in like middle school, I did a couple short stories. In high school, I used to backyard wrestle, and I would write the storylines for that. But yeah, as far as writing, I'm kind of in the school of YouTube as far as that goes, where I'm listening to people writing channels and people talking critical about plot points and characters and stuff like that. So kind of learning through emulsion, I think. But
Okay.
Yeah, so this is my first real endeavor into the writing process, as far as a copyrighted work and working with someone to bring it to life as far as on paper. So um, it's all very new to me, but the way the story is playing out in my head, it's compelling, and I'm just excited to bring it to life. So.
When we got to talk to James, he talked about you guys getting a chance to actually meet face to face, and once that happened, this project sort of like coalesced and really came together for you both. Is that kind of how you feel as well?
Yeah, for sure. I kind of met him through a YouTube member stream, just kind of by coincidence, and he was I pitched it to him, and he was receptive, and we were working a lot, but yeah, I'd say meeting him last year in Vegas, we got along really well. Just things kind of clicked. So yeah, after that actually after that it took a couple months, but then we started going gangbusters,
Right.
and yeah, looking to get this thing printed and in your hands. It's I think I've been talking to him about a year and a half now, close to 2 years maybe. So it's finally coming to fruition.
That's fantastic to hear. And
Mhm.
you mentioned this, like this little, we all get like little, idea worms in our little brains, and then it's like, okay, so how did it sort of birth into pen to paper? Did you just sort of randomly having different thoughts, different ideas, different characters? Like, so let's say this a person like me was out there and said, I got this little idea is thrown around in my head, though. Obviously, getting started is always the first step, like just doing something. But
Right.
how did that work for you to kind of like, I don't know, water the idea so it would start to grow?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this started about 10 years ago.
Hmm.
I got the setting in my head, and and just kind of what some of these characters would do. And I pitched it to my neighbor. He got me into like modern anime. So he he would tell me, oh, you got to watch this, and then we'd talk about it. Um, so he kind of has that high concept, receptive mind. So yeah, I like kind of pitched the setting to him, and he really liked it. He told me I should, enter some amateur anime thingy majig, but I never did. So yeah, 10 years I've had like the kind of the setting, and then slowly kind of I'd pitch something new to someone else, and they'd critique it a little bit. Um, but so I've kind of had those ideas in my mind, and before I was talking to any artist, especially James, but um I was trying to write it as a novel,
Mm,
because you can do that by yourself. You don't
mm.
need to work with an illustrator or anything like that. um so I got a couple chapters where I wrote it as a novel. And I think what's the perfect medium for this book, I honestly think, is a comic book graphic novel. It's got, it blends the visuals with the text. Um, you know, I got like a bunch of things I want to say, and I'm just kind of honing it in. But
So let me ask it this way then. Does your stories, and I say stories plural because as someone who likes to write as well, they play out multiple times in multiple ways in my head. Mine play out like movies, where it's just like it's almost like a movie, and sometimes I'm translating. It's like when I wrote like a fictional novel based on an idea my daughter had. It was my only big writing project that I ever did, and it was sometimes challenging to figure out how to get the movie element that was playing in my head on paper. Is it just sort of going through that process of like you've written novelization, you've put all this narrative on paper, and then you're like, well, listen, I'm missing visuals. I think there's something very powerful with having visuals. Um, how did you navigate that first step to say, all right, well, listen, wait, let me see. What about a comic book, and how could I, move it that way?
yeah, so this might not be a popular take, but so I'm basing it off so this story I'd say is like an anime in my head. And that's not to mean that I think you say anime or manga and it might have a negative connotation as far as like the art or the way some of the characters act or something, like just the writing.
Hmm.
For whatever it is, it's an animation in my head, it's in motion.
Mhm.
And so with that, I've said anime a couple times. I'm using that as a reference. Well, why am I using that as a reference? Is because there's manga, which then gets adapted into anime. So it's kind of like you know storyboarding.
Mm.
It's kind of like
Okay.
monetize. It's kind of like monetizing storyboarding, right? Um, if this were to become like a TV series or something like that, in the future, this is where it starts. These are the ideas. This is how I get characters to do certain things or events to happen. And you only get that little screenshot. You get the little flash. You get one image or maybe a couple sequential images, but um, it's like what's like the key frame for this scene or whatever, and making sure that uh kind of like builds up to that point, and that point is on paper. You can see it, you can read it.
Yeah, it becomes tangible. Yeah, I get you. I'm
Mhm.
picking up what you're saying. By the way, I don't want to pause too long here, but I want to say hi to Bifer who popped in here and said, "Hey, so hey to you, my friend. Thank you always
Hello.
for supporting the channel and my work. I appreciate that very much." And well, let's take a quick look. 10 years in the making, basically. So here we go. This is on Indiegogo. The link is in the description. I actually dropped it in the chat as well if you're following along. So a 60-page book. Very nice. Here you go. Steamjunk Western number 0. The first frontier in a Western saga, a character-driven story, and an introduction to a larger world, which is definitely what Tom was getting at. Like, this is like literally like, chapter 0 for, obviously that's by definition, but just the concept of, a good starting point. Yeah.
Yeah. And so as far as like numbering it a 0, some people do ash cans, some people do just like proof of concept books. And this is different. This is definitely the start of the story. It's kind of you spend a day in the life with one of the main characters. You kind of learn some of the surrounding characters also, but it is somewhat of a misdirection. What I can say for the series, that would be Steamjunk Western, the series, even the franchise okay, so it's yeah, okay, bring it in. What I'm doing is using technology as a magic system. So it is it's got sci-fi elements, but um it's a very grounded approach. And so what I'm doing in this book is there's no technology. So we are, it's like I said, it's a misdirection. But I also wanted to kind of to avoid like power creep. I'm starting at 0, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
getting
You have it set in Civil War era. You have it following the Army hero's daughter. I'm just reading directly from the details here, folks. If you hop on over and can follow along, talks about the characters. So you're getting this sort of zeros a lot of times in mainstream comics or origin stories, right? A lot of times zeros or special edition origin stories or things like that. So, and I really I'm glad what you said, but I want to kind of touch on what is in your description, because you say that you are crafting this story like a puzzle, which I think fits very much into what you're saying, because you have envisioned Steamjunk Western, and you also have this Ante-Hero, so you have different elements already in place. So we've got to figure out a way to kind of get the reader, the audience, sort of on board and introduced. And this is that first step of saying, all right, here we go, guys, here's your first step. Fair enough?
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
So like you're reading off the page. Another thing that this book is doing is it's kind of starting. So the Ante-Hero, right? And just kind of my plans in general is, it's going to be borderline, like borderline parody, borderline satire, some social commentary eventually, but like, it's supposed to be a fun series. There's a lot of nihilism, and everything's kind of down and dour, and I'm just kind of when I'm not selling a book, I'm kind of a smart ass, right? I'd rather read something written by a smart ass than a dumbass. That's kind of my approach here. But I try and make light of most things. I find humor in things most people don't. But another element that's kind of evolved is paying respect to some some historical characters that I can, and that's kind of skirting around the copyright law a little bit, but
Well, that's how everybody does it. You can't have Superman, but you go make your own version of Superman. I got it. We're good. We're good. We don't. Yeah. No, there's not.
Yes.
There's not going to be. Look, listen, folks. I think that there's obviously you can feel sort of an Eastern style. I don't know that I see a ton of like really anime per se. I do a little bit here, but I felt there was sort of like American comics of like Lone Wolf and Cub and Ronin and things like that. That's set in Civil War. That's pretty much what I saw whenever I was looking at this for the first time. I was like, this is very interesting. And of course, this is the page that I just go oogle over right here. Is this one right there? I love that page. I love that page so much. And I think that anything that involves world building and creating something where you, the writer, and James, the artist, or other artists and other writers can come and play in is where all the fun is really had. Like, the franchises that we've all come to love and really adore is because of some sort of universe that's been built. And that's what I hear you saying. And kind of like, almost like trying to avoid spoilers and trying to, like, I can see you kind of skirting around different elements of it. And I understand what you're trying to say, because you're trying to lay out all of this. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot to spoil anything, because I think it's just a fun thing to get to experience. This is where we'll all start, if that's the best way to say it.
Yeah, for sure. And I hope, I hope to deliver. When I hear people talk about, like Tolkien, and he's got languages, and he's got this whole history, and for his world. Like, I mean, I'm definitely not to that level, but I've put a lot of thought into this, and how things kind of got here, led up to this. Yeah, there's definitely this is just the tip of the iceberg, but making sure that gets represented on paper, like no one knows me, no one, no one's a mind reader. So, all this stuff is just in my head until it's on the page. So,
Sure. Gotcha. Yeah.
Just making sure that, those things happen along the way. Yeah, it's been exciting. And, so this is different, right? So many people like, oh, I got this great idea, put everything into this one great idea, and then you got nothing else, you got nothing for book two. I'm setting up the long game, I hope to be, at least.
Well, because you said you had talked about starting like as you're penning a novel. So when you're penning a novel, you have a very broad spectrum of scope of story and a lot of information laid out there. Like, I always make reference to Star Wars. I said it was all fun and games until he realized that he had to write a backstory for Darth Vader, or it didn't make any sense to him. Like, it's like, so he basically wrote 40 pages of how Darth Vader become Darth Vader in order to continue writing Star Wars. I'm like, okay, that's really a powerful thing. And I kind of always had that in my like ledger of like stuff. It's like Tarantino always writes his character. I'm sorry, I'm making film references, but the premise is very similar in that when he's on set, he would explain to the actors, oh, this person did this and this person did that and whatever. He had all of this intricate stuff that's not in the script. It's all part of it. And that's what I hear you saying it without saying it. It's like, oh no, see, I'm in this for issue. I've already got 5 and 9 sort of penciled out in my head of this is where we're going for this and this is where we're going for that and those kinds of things. So that's what it sounds like to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess this would be considered like a maxi series, right?
Okay.
I'm hoping to get around 20 books, but there's enough just filler issues just to put something out.
Correct. Okay.
There's a story in mind. It's got an ending, a beginning, middle, end. I got it all kind of in my head. It's just kind of making it happen. And I'm really glad you brought up Star Wars, because not necessarily the movies or but the Star Wars as a meta, as far as George goes. I think he was kind of one of the best at nostalgia baiting, right? The way he made Star Wars. We got Star Wars because we didn't get Flash, or because he didn't get Flash Gordon, right? Kind of blending that, the campy sci-fi stuff with, what was it, like World War II movies or
Yeah, World War II movies and Eastern religion and mysticism and religion, and he literally just was like poured. It's kind of like it's Tolkien all over again, right? It's like you're creating a universe, you're pulling in these things that inspired you. You're looking. You mentioned historical figures, which I think is the fantastic way to go, right? You've got some figure that stands out to you, or some story that you can maybe replicate, whether it be a historical incident or something like that you can kind of pull from. I wrote a story once, and there was like a mobster hit in this scene, and there was a story I heard of a real life thing, and just a few tweaks here and there. So it's pulled from that, but I'm not going to be in trouble with the mob by talking about that story or anything like that, right? You got enough that's going there. So let's say, hey, Decepticon's Cave, by the way. A big fan of his shorts. Decepticon's Cave's out there. So if you don't know, you also have some fun just looking at some cool stuff. Decepticon's always dropping stuff out there for me. I appreciate it very much, too. Love to have you in here, brother. Thank you so much. So let me go back to this campaign, because here's where we're at. We are at, so $25 gets you a book. So there's a main cover right here with color. There are all the little perks that go with all stuff. Here's the variant. And then there's a black and white. Some of you love black and whites. I know I get that a lot because I've showed off one of my giveaways for my celebration stream that I'm going to set a schedule here very shortly, actually. And then for all three, you can get for $70. So it's a very manageable number, folks, especially when you factor in, you're talking like 60 pages, 52 pages of story. You got opening narration, all this world building and stuff like that. That's basically like 5 comic books, maybe a little bit more. So that's very, very strong. And then, of course, you have individual art pages you can get your hands on here, whether it be the black and whites, or you can get one of these big bundles where you get a little bit of everything. So a very manageable campaign. The links I said are there. It's something to jump right into. I really got it, guys. We really got to get on board here. We got to figure out how to get this thing moving. It's moved a little bit for me, but I'm not nearly as happy as I'd like to see that number move. I want to see that number move. So
yeah, and this is kind of where the next campaign, so we are in demand right now. We had 60 days live. We ended last week. So yeah, it said it was October 4th. So yeah, this is where, learning from this campaign and moving forward. That's kind of where the next campaign might pivot a little bit, just because, so some of the reaction I've gotten is, at one point I had sci-fi in the description, and people looking at it, well, I don't see sci-fi, it's not in this book. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not in this book, but so if 1 or 2 books out of 20 don't have what you're looking for, but the rest do, how would you describe that? How would you market that? You know what I mean? So just learning, but it's been a great campaign. Got to learn to get on more shows, be a little more personal about that, but
it's tough. Pat Wannabe popped in. Hey, my friend, says a great listen as always. I'll get to bend your ear one day. Pleasure learning about new comic stuff. Yes, amen, brother. Feel free to check this out if you get a chance to. It's a great campaign to be a part of, and yeah, I may actually be able to do a stream a little bit later on tonight, Pat Wannabe. But yeah, just message me, man. Let me know. Because Tom, what you're saying, I think, is one of the hardest things that I would foresee. It's like, as a creative, whether it be being a writer or an artist, you have to transition into the marketing aspect of it all, right? Because at this point, what I'm seeing is the independent comic book creators. And what used to happen is people would make their book. They'd probably print as many as they can afford, whether it be 500 or 1,000. They'd do comic book shows. They'd sell a few issues here and there. They'd keep working on it. Hopefully, they're always breaking even. And eventually, they're hoping that it kind of moves them towards something else. And in hindsight, reality is some of them figured out they actually own IPs and things like that they can tap into now, where YouTube and the internet has allowed for that market to really kind of like go deep and wide. So we've seen like Ethan Van Sciver has probably been one of the biggest success stories, where he took something he did for, Little Harris Comics back when he was like 19 years old, and this kind of chaotic looking black and white comic book. I mean, I like it, but it definitely shows a completely different evolution to where he is now. And for something like this, where you guys are ready to go like in demand, you guys are ready to do this. Yeah. Then you got someone whispering in your ear and trying to give you some advice and help you figure out how to be a better marketeer, get a little Stan Lee going there with some Carnival Barker stuff going. You got to get my comic. This is going to be fun. You're going to have a blast. I mean, it's kind of a weird thing to do, isn't it? It sounds like it would be for me. I know.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely not a salesman. I've done it a couple times in my life, but it doesn't come natural to me. I'm not a pushy guy. I don't like, I'll never think I'm like the smartest or coolest guy in the room, right? Like that's not who I am. But yeah, definitely transitioning from, like so yeah, it's been in my head for 10 years, and kind of trying to keep it a secret so no one steals my ideas, even though there's no original stories out there. But like you said, getting on YouTube, and that's kind of thing. Like even even like you, you're an independent, podcast host. You don't need a television. You don't need a TV station to.
No, I quit all that, bro. I quit all that. I told so if you haven't heard my backstory, I come from the land of I would say the first side hustle, semi-professional job I got writing for a little tiny website. And I just got lucky because I've always been fearless. And we did a comic book show. It was kind of like a jump in the ropes kind of thing, where I was ready to interview people and just broke all the barriers and got this guy all sorts of cool content. Got into a regular column, doing regular reviews, movie reviews, which leads to press passes. Got into developing website stuff and independent film, which led into radio. But all this stuff I'd been doing for years, even things that I kind of owned. Like I did. I mean, I can't tell you how many hundreds of articles I wrote for Examiner, which basically went dark, right? The whole website just gone one day. It went broke. At some point I was like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I can't. And then with the pandemic, because I owned this Pops channel since like 2012 and didn't do anything for like 9 years or 7 years. Never did, not a single video was ever on. The first video on Pops is like in 2019. And in March 12th was my first day on Pops. That's what I consider. March 12th of this year, where, I had hundreds of subscribers from God knows how long back. I have hundreds of people I know. I do a few videos for a few months before life got in the way. And I said, nope. I'm not going to get bogged down with everyone else's projects and everyone else's deadlines. No, it's Pops. I'll do my own freaking thing. Talk to who I want to, when I want to talk to, do my own thing. And for you guys, because now you're comic book creators, you're not just comic book creators. You guys are a business. You're a publisher. This is Steam Junk Western by you guys. That's it. You're it. Mm-hmm. So if you're not marketing it, who's going to know it's there? If you're not shipping it, who's going to get it? It's like it becomes a transition that starts to require a lot of different skill sets. And it really does warm my heart, Tom, that you would say, I'm listening to other YouTubers and YouTube videos and things like that, because to be honest, that's probably the best place I could send you right now. To be perfectly honest, from my years of experience right now, YouTube has a lot of wise voices out there, and you can kind of sniff out the crap after a few. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Even taking away the down thumb button.
Yeah.
You can find out how. But
yeah. Hey, lovely Sherry, by the way. Lovely Sherry popped in. Hey, lady. Thanks for so much for hanging in there. Yeah. Yeah, because I don't envy you, but that's why I like doing this, because I don't envy that part of how do you get the word out, how you do it. Even if you come on here and maybe it's not today, but we sell one book. That's freaking the best I can do. It's good for today. We'll see what tomorrow brings. Like, you just kind of have to keep plowing, and it's just more of an endurance mission. It's like, you've done enough to get 0 done. You talked earlier about writing, whether it be the second issue, the next 2 issues, whatever you're at, because it doesn't matter. It's not going to ever stop. Because you got the bug now, bro. I can see it in your eyes. I can see it. I can hear it in your voice. You've got the bug to keep going, and you've had a lot of fun. Let's just be honest. You know it. It's your baby.
Yeah.
Your baby's being born. Look, your baby's on screen. Look at that. Your baby's on screen. I'm looking at your screen now. Even though this campaign is gone, as far as I know, I haven't had anybody's campaigns. Even when they're gone, they're never really gone. I always can find them for reference. Like if I were to interview you like 3 years from now, I could. Your baby is here forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's freaking cool, man.
It's very, very exciting, and to think.
Cool.
To think that in a week or 2 time, these will be physical books in my hand, like it's just crazy.
Yeah, you got to video that though. Make sure you do YouTube and do videos and stuff.
I have a channel. Well, again, so like listening to people. Oh, you want to do independent comics? Well, you gotta have a YouTube channel. You gotta sell them that way. So, kind of, I'm not like a stream of consciousness guy, right? Like I sit here and I have all these thoughts in my head, but like I can't just sit here and talk to myself. So, try doing like a podcast live stream or whatever, and just
it is a lot more fun to have someone to talk with, by the way. I have no problem talking to myself because I literally have notes because I'm just obviously you can see with the lack of hair and what is there is either white or gray. I'm OG. So I have like a notebook, which my wife made me get one notebook. For those of you who didn't hear that story. Yes, I'm down to one notebook and not having sticky notes and crap everywhere driving her nuts. So even though it seems like I'm stream of consciousness, generally speaking, I have outline stuff and my bumpers are up. So it's not, but in Jinja Ninja, he's messing with this, Tom. James is trolling us. You see this? You see this nonsense over here? We're thinking of hitting up the SheHulk TV writers if they need some idea. If we need some ideas, you know what, my friend? They're keeping themselves busy by self-inserting themselves in their own show. So they're going to be tied up for a while. And actually, to be honest, James, because my OCD, I covered this at the crack of dawn because I'm sadistic, or I'm sorry, I do masochistic. Put myself through this freaking show. My slogan is I watch it so you don't have to. That's my motto. Nice. Yeah. I actually have a screenshot of where they do. I don't know if you heard about this finale or not. They basically,
I've heard of it.
Yeah, they basically, she fourth walls into our world and then like kicks the door into where the writers are and starts lecturing the writers, and they actually are the writers. And so I was like Googling which ones are which, like, okay, this one's the showrunner, this one's and there's a pair and they already are going to work on one of the other shows. They've already got jobs. It's just the nepotism runs deep. So they're going to be busy with their own team, James. And James, I appreciate the troll effort. Very good. Yes.
Yeah. Well, so like bringing that up, at least like the self-insert part, there's write what you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also self-insert. So, I think a unique perspective is maybe a self-insert that isn't perfect. A self-insert that might be down on themselves a little bit. Basically, just like bad things happen to good characters, right? And that's kind of what we're missing a lot in a lot of stories. Is there's no real stakes or consequences.
There you go.
Everything's end of the world, existential threat, or
no threat at all. Like we watch Andor, which is a prequel show about a dude that dies in a movie. So when he gets attacked in the spaceship, I know he's not going to die. So how much less do I care now? No. But you're talking about like actual, like authentic conflict, and maybe, yeah. So there's a difference. I think, let me see if I get it right. I'm going to try to pick up what you're throwing down here. Using your life experiences to write about actual conflict versus there's a character that looks and acts just like Tom. That's completely two different things. I totally can see that. Like, I get that. That's two different things.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Is that a fair way to pick up what you're throwing down. I mean, that makes sense. I would be perfectly honest. I actually did my daughter for the little novel that I did. She's very much the self-insert. It's pretty much the look and the feel and the structure. What's happening is all fictional, but I had to have something visually in my head to build from. And I had to have her permission to do it because we had to figure out some sort of cover. We had to figure out some things to kind of piece some of this together. And she was okay with that because she understood that I was not writing about her. It wasn't physically her. It was just you're building some frameworks. That's crazy different than some of these writers in comic books right now that are just like, I'm going to write about getting drunk at a wedding because that's the only life experience I have. That's just freaking, it's sad. Yeah. It's not, that's no stakes, as you said. There's no stakes in that. It's ridiculous. So what is it that you challenge? What is it that you struggle with a little bit on the self-insert category? Like, were there elements that you kind of almost made it or didn't make it, or there are certain things?
To be honest, that I haven't written that character yet.
Okay.
So that character's not even in this book. What I will say is that there's a lot of things that are left unsaid with me. For one, just my victim story, right? I was born with verbal apraxia. So that means there's kind of a disconnect between my brain and my mouth. The thoughts are all there, but something kind of gets lost along the way where my mouth doesn't articulate the thoughts in my head very eloquently, right? There you go. Smart words. Yeah, but then high school, I was in marching band. You're not really supposed to talk. Then I joined the Marine Corps after high school. You're not really supposed to talk too much. And then I've been a poker dealer for the last 15 years, poker dealer and player. And, you're not supposed to give out too much information. Been told a few times to shut up and deal, so it's like, I'm sitting with 9 players, but they're not there to talk to me. They're there to talk to one another or whatever. So, talking is, it's overrated for me, but
we just got to find a better marketing department for you to relieve some of that stress so you can focus on your strengths. This is what Tom is saying, folks. He needs someone like me that can't shut up, has diarrhea of the mouth, who can ramble endlessly about things he doesn't even know about and sounds like he knows things if he actually had to. I got you. I pick it up, so it's fine.
Thank you. Yeah.
Padawannabe said, well, first off, James says that's what I'm here for. So he's got your back, bro.
Yeah.
What a good person should do. Padawannabe, great analogy, by the way. It's like selling mixtapes out of your trunk. You got to keep the hustle alive. Yeah, bro, that is a great analogy because that's the old school reference for me, right? That's the dude that's got, it was mixtapes out of your trunk. It was CDs. You'd go to a club or a band or whatever. They're selling, $3, $5 CDs. Or they would just give them to you, like word of mouth. Like, please, can you just tell a friend or whatever? We'll be here for a month or whatever it would be, that kind of thing. Padawannabe does admit to watching She-Hulk. My apologies, my friend. I volunteered. I said I'm going to fall on the sword. I will watch the show so you don't have to. You watch my videos. I only missed 1 week because of the storm. I walked you through pretty much everything. If you had to watch She-Hulk, and I can save you some time, you only need to watch episode 1 and then know that she loses her job. Then watch the last 2. That's it. And really, to be honest, the last one is such a freaking mess. It's going to make your head hurt because you're just like, what the heck is going on? So, you're in the nutshell. All right. What do you, I'm not. Yeah. Okay. I think, you were saying diarrhea in the mouth and the talk.
Me in a nutshell. I don't know.
James in a nutshell. James in a nutshell. That's a good reference, bro. Oh, look at you, Wayne's World, bro. That's good stuff. Awesome. Chris Persia's in the house. He's my pops mod. He's the mod goat. What else would he come up with the nicknames for you? What was the other nickname? What did we do last night? They were coming up with stuff. Pop-O-Matic. Yeah, they're nuts. The chat goes crazy in here sometimes. They're really evolving. So yes, Chris Persia says Tom needs pops, the man with the gift of gab who knows how to always talk hard. Thank you, bro. We've got to get together and figure out some font for our Talk Hard shirts. We got to agree on a font. It's not something that can be copyrighted, so we just do what we want to do. You know what it is, Tom. I love talking comic books.
Yeah.
I love comic books. I'm such the uber. I mean, literally, this is what's in front of me. A whole freaking stack of comic books. They're
Nice.
they're all behind me. I'm literally like figuring out, okay, well, I got to keep selling some to have some money come in to buy more. And just, it is what it is. I forget how I found James. Maybe somebody just said, have you seen? That does happen now too, which, again, the Pops thing kind of went crazy. I kind of joked, you know who Nerdrotic is,
Yes.
right? Yes.
That's the member stream me and James met in.
Oh, okay, right. And it was a meetup. You guys went to Vegas, right? So I'm like the flea market version of Gary, right? So he had like the store for 10 years. He lived it as a full-time job. I was in college and had a flea market booth for like 3 years and just had that version of it. Imagine small scale, only on weekends, and in college on my full-time job. So the knowledge base is like significantly different. I'm no Gary. Gary's way up here, and I'm that person. Just actually, I applied for jobs, Tom, in actual stores, and they wouldn't hire me because I didn't have like the people were dumb. They're just people. We're just people. Like, you just didn't meet the right guy, gave you the shot or whatever.
You're not
got to be
nerdy
honest.
enough.
Well, and I probably would not have taken the job too. I got to be honest, because what would happen, because I got a real degree and went on to a real career that made a fair amount of, I've had a good life. I'm not going to complain. So I, in some ways, and maybe it's for the best, because I would have been making like, $10 an hour. That would have been my ceiling or something. And I would have had a lot more struggles than I would. So, okay. James says, met on Megan's channel. Okay, cool. Very cool. Megan is amazing. I love connecting with her. We do an every other channel show where we talk comic books.
Nice.
So Megan at Noobs Review.
She's very cool.
She is awesome. Yeah, I fell in love.
We had her on as a guest when I was trying to do the podcast thingy. We had her on a guest before she had 200 or before 100 or 200 subs. So we knew her,
Yep.
Before it was cool.
I saw her on Salty, and then I watched her videos, and I was just in love with her passion. I was living the Wolverine limited series for the first time through her eyes. I was living, the Conan comic book through her eyes for the first time, and that was a great experience. It just made me feel that I felt many, many years ago. That was all. So James says, I tried to work for Target, and they told me I was overqualified.
I guess you missed the mark there.
Wow. That's, yeah. You know what, James, funny you say that too, because I got laid off from a job, and the only place that would hire me was Walmart. I couldn't even clean the bowling alley. He wouldn't even let me clean at night. I figured, well, I could just do that, the second, third job kind of thing. And I was told no, overqualified, whatever. Walmart, it looks like so a warm body at it. So I got a Walmart job. So. All right. So Tom, here we are. We're in demand. The first book, Your Baby's Coming to Life. Soon we're going to go to print. What's one of the biggest things that you have learned that you would want to pass on to the people that are a few steps behind you? The Tom that's out there, he's still putting pen to paper, trying to work through some story ideas. The artist that's still like, kind of have some ideas here, kind of idea, or people that are already in the middle. They're kind of like working on something. What's one of the things that you've learned that maybe surprised you the most, or maybe, I don't know, just throw something out there.
Yeah, I would say definitely number one is be ready to campaign. It's not going to sell itself, especially if people don't know who you are. Someone like Eric July, he could have crapped out, he could have put crap in a box and sold $1 million. Like that's just kind of the following he had, but or he has, but smaller guys and first timers and stuff like that. Like, you got to get on shows, you got to put yourself out there, you got to talk to people, even on social media, on Twitter, like have promotional ads ready to go. Cause yeah, I mean, Pete Smetti, he's like, I think he had a tweet out there. It's like, you put all this time into making it, but then you don't promote it, no one sees it, what's the point? That should be the easiest part, right? Is because
Mhm.
it is done. You've put all this time in. The story in and out. So it should be easy to sell, but just yeah, definitely put yourself out there. But also have thick skin because
Ooh, that's a good
you're
one.
you're gonna get some criticism, and it's all about how you respond um, and recover from that.
Mhm.
Uh, to kind of you know sh- show down the road, like it's not going to get, well, I mean, it might get easier, but um it's just something you got to keep doing
Yeah, you got to work
and
through it, right?
improve. Yep,
And
yep.
yeah. So one of the early things that was said to me, um, I took it to heart was there's no statue built for a critic. So those people, most of them aren't doers anyway. So let them throw their crap at you and whatever. And reality is, they're just a bunch of expendable nobodies. And and this is coming from someone that was a professional critic, by the way.
Hmm.
So, as a creative and a critic, because I did both, but obviously, the side hustle was being like an actual movie reviewer and all that nonsense. I looked at most of them with disdain, Tom. They were just such freaking losers and do nothing people who think they're somebody. It's almost like how when you meet like the roadies of the band or something,
Hmm.
and they think they're something special, and you're like,
Yeah.
you're not even, you're like the help, like, you know what I
Right.
mean? You're like,
Hmm.
you're the contracted help. That's what
you're
a
on the s-
critic is.
you're on the
Yeah,
second bus. You're not on the
right. That's what the
you're not.
critic is. The critic thinks they're someone because they get press access to stuff that Hollywood does. And I'm like, you're a nobody host of a show on like the UHF channel that no one watches except for the 12 people that are in this room, and then the old people that keep that channel on all day. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. So, yeah, most critics, and for those of you at home, if you're getting stuff, there's constructive criticism, and then there's just people being, a-holes, right? It's a tough
Yeah.
line.
Hmm.
I'm actually watching. I did a poll, and they all turned on me, Tom. It's
Uh-oh.
tough when now I've got enough subscribers, enough people in this chat, and people like you, Chris Persia. I see you. I see you. They did. I have a show called Talk Hard, hence the name. And one dude's like into sharks, so we did a review of this horrible schlock movie called Shark Side of the Moon. It's on Tubi for free, and the shark stuff didn't stop. And so I ultimately did a poll of which one I would actually agree to do, and they betrayed me, Tom. I thought they would pick one that would be decent. They chose Sharks of the Corn, and I text them today because I've had to stop. I may be 30 minutes in. I said, this is not even schlock. This is VHS quality film festival crap is what this is. Like, how am I going to get through this? And as a reviewer, though, I can take into account the fact that these are just people like they just want to make a movie. They have no money, obviously. So I don't want to dump on them and be an a-hole to them, but I have to review in a way. So I think there's a way, Tom, to give you constructive criticism. But man, just telling people they need to have thin skin tells me that you've already had a little bit of the rocks thrown your way. So that's why I was telling you all that. So because
Yeah.
when somebody says that, it's like, oh, somebody's been throwing rocks at my buddies here. That's just wrong.
And I do like that. There's no statue for a critic kind of
Oh yeah.
line.
That was gold for me, bro. It made a big difference for me whenever I put myself out there for different things. It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so you got to kind of sift through, the bullshit, right? Someone said, on Twitter, like, criticism isn't constructive if, like, basically, if you approach it like an asshole, right? Then the criticism isn't valid. It's
Hmm.
like, I mean, like if Gordon Ramsay tells you to use real onions and not onion powder, like a fucking moron, I'm gonna listen to him, even though he's being an asshole, right? But like,
Mhm.
uh, finding that nugget of truth. I mean, this could be, this is a voice in your audience, but it might be what everyone else is thinking. Just because you don't like what you're hearing doesn't mean it's not true, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah, there's some truth to it. No, I mean, I think you have to hear everybody, even, and you have to apply law of numbers, and you have to, you know, um, and I think, a good creative person listens to the fans, listens to their audience, listens to their customers, and that's what needs to happen. So, yeah, Chris Persia. Yes, I am talking about you, and you did have no part in that. Sure you did. You're on Twitter, bro. I know what you're up to. You're not hiding. So now we move closer to on demand. Let's pull this back up again. Let's have some fun with that again, because I just want to make sure everybody understands what's going on. Let's check this out. $25 comic, 60 pages. I don't know. Is my tagline not fair to call it sort of a lone wolf cub Ronin feel with the Civil War setting?
for sure. So art style is a little gritty.
Yeah.
It's not hyper realistic as far as every detail being drawn in perfectly, but it's really the story and the art kind of complement one another.
Mhm.
They're I'd say it's close to a hey Vince.
I love the fact that James is able to capture a lot of motion in your scenes. Like, he's able to really create a lot of movement. And for someone that's not really, and I don't think James will take offense for me saying it this way, is for someone who's not like a multi-year veteran in the industry or something. That was the one takeaway I had just from the samples I've seen, was like this page in particular, the motion, the movement, the emotion, the way he changes colors. There is a lot here for a first time comic that really made this appealing and really drew my eye to it. And then the intensity in this page. My gosh, how could you not want to read a story when you see that? How do you not want to read this? What is wrong with you people if you don't have a copy of this ordered? Like, seriously, this is a great look at that sequence play out. I don't need to know what Tom wrote. I'll be perfectly honest. No offense, Tom. I do not need to know what you wrote to follow this, and also want to read what you wrote. Freaking great. That's accomplishment. I got to be honest, man. It can go belly up or whatever. That's something to be proud of right there. Just I haven't even read the whole thing, man. I just read those. Check that out. I'm telling you, that's freaking great stuff.
Thank you. And you saw some of those black and white images in there. So after first contact with James, he was doing live streams. This was a year or over a year ago, and I would just sit and watch him, and like it just his style, his work ethic. Like, I mean, he's just sitting there talking and bullshitting with the chat, and 2 hours later he's got a finished piece that would have taken me 2 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
amazing.
It's incredible.
It's
so that's kind of one of the things that drew me to him. Definitely looking to get a lot of books out, right? So need someone who's quick. Didn't want someone that our first book is 2 years late kind of deal.
Yeah, I really couldn't agree more with that. Ooh, boy, that's a sore spot for me, bro. Oh man, I wish I could. I don't want to. Well, first, let's say hi to Comic Relief. My God, it's so good to see you in the chat, brother. Hope you're doing well. I know you've gone through some crazy stuff, so God bless you, brother. And then James, yeah, of course, man. You're just going to get no nonsense from me, man. I'd say nothing before I'd lied. That's not going to happen. But no, so all right. So here's the thing. I supported a campaign They're one of, if not the first campaign, and I'm still waiting for books. And I kind of get generic updates and little things, even though they've had other campaigns that have moved, but that one for some reason is always stuck. And I wasn't trying to email them like I want my money back exactly, but I was kind of like, listen, we gotta have to figure out some common ground with what's going on, man. You can't be doing all this other stuff and not moving this. And then I have other people. I literally have on this desk the second campaign from someone in less time than that. And that's where I think the customer is going to get frustrated.
Mhm.
And I will tell you, you hit the lottery with someone like James. I mean, someone who can time lapse that stuff and see the intricacies of what he does in a couple of hours. And you're just like, yeah, he's going to be able to crank out some work for me. He'll be able to crank out some work if I need to. Like he's going to be all right. He's going to deliver. Yeah, it's freaking great. Yeah. I think you guys have done well. So, that's awesome. And yeah, guys, listen, the links are there. Here, let me throw it back in again. You guys can hop on over there, check it out for yourself. If it's for you, you know, I don't think it's a horrible price point for freaking 60 pages and 50 something pages and something different. Maybe it's genres. I'm big into different genres for my comic books too. Like I really enjoy. I got a freaking connection problem. My comment didn't go through. That was weird. Let me try again. I love Western stuff. I always like Jonah Hex, and I always, I love some of that kind of stuff. So when I saw this, I was just like, I like this. And now to know you've also got like, I'm going to say 20 books in your head. That's what we're gonna stick to for now.
Yeah.
I feel pretty comfortable that I'm going to get a cool ride out of this. That's what I want, man. I want a cool ride. I want to have some fun. I want to have some cool characters, cool stories, things I can relate to. Yeah, I just feel it already. And all I got is a couple screens and a couple pictures. So, and then getting to know you and James, that's freaking great. It makes it even better for me. So that was so.
Yeah, definitely hope to deliver. And thank you for, just the faith, the trust, putting trust in us. I'd say that's kind of, that's probably the bigger ask right now is to trust us. And it's not, it's not look at the art and trust that, but like trust us because a lot of people have been burned and, unhappy customers leaving them unsatisfied. That's definitely not what we're trying to do.
Right. And this is why I think the Eric July story has been so important for everyone, because not because I've ever been trying to detract from anyone else, because I think all of the water can rise for everyone. It's drawn a lot of newbies into the market to say, I don't know much about comic books, but they knew Eric from maybe political commentary or just talking about comic books but not actually buying them. And then so now the Indiegogo world, the crowdfunding world can really have a lot of light shined on it to say, well, yeah, you've got your Isom book. That's great. By the way, here's like 6 more really cool things that you can also have. Right. And they're freaking great. And because you have a different genre with a Western and then obviously some of the other elements that you've mentioned previously, I think it's great, man. That's the way to go, because you don't want to get lost in the shuffle. I'm sick of seeing, all right, no offense to you guys. I know you're going to insult. I'm going to insult somebody, make their feelings hurt. I don't mean it to you personally. I buy some of them, so I'm kind of a hypocrite when I say it this way. Let's just say there's a lot of 90s era art in some of those books. So, yeah, you guys can kind of get lost in the shuffle a little bit, because a lot of it kind of starts to look the same after a while, where I'm buying, and I'm a fan of that era. So I am a bit of a hypocrite because I do love it. But yeah, it's having something different like this, I think it's a great start for your universe, man. You have a nickname for it yet? The anti-verse or something? The Steam Junk Western, is that the name of the universe?
No, actually. So I mean, I think there's too many verses, right? There's too many verses lately.
I'm curious if you had a nickname for it. That's all.
Yeah, trying to do things a little different, but maybe well, so
I'm gonna put hashtag Tomverse in the chat. Hashtag
Oh,
Tomverse.
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Hashtag Tomverse.
And so when we're kind of coming up with some of the names, even anti-comics, like I was kicking around like anti-life or anti-time, um, like comics or whatever. But and I think anti-life is cool because it plays off of the anti-life equation. Um, another comic reference, but yeah, I don't know.
I wasn't trying to put you on the spot. I'm sorry. That
Yeah,
wasn't meant to be.
antiverse
It wasn't meant to be. It
works.
wasn't meant to be a gotcha. It wasn't meant to be a gotcha. James says, "Who do you trust? Who do you trust?" Yes. And
So
hail to the Iron Age. That's what he calls.
Yes.
That is the nickname for this era. I do appreciate that too. I love that. I love something different. That's great. And I think we have turned a point too where people are like, I mean, freaking John Kent comes out as gay to the DC universe, and 3 issues later, the title is canceled. If you can't see the writing on the freaking wall from that, you people should you deserve what you got. You deserve what you got. I'm sorry. If you can't see it, you can't see. Listen to this. Oh, James piling on, man. He says, put you on the spot, make him sweat. I'm not gonna listen, bro. I'm just talking. I'm just talking. And listen. And I'm gonna be honest, right? A little bit of the creative bug, but writers and artists, yeah, sometimes they have more information that's going on up here than they can get out. I got it. I know. That's why Ethan Van Sciver is the anomaly, right? Because he can. And James, you could do this. And I don't think James has even gotten used to it yet. James still is very nervous, in my opinion, from talking with him, and then seeing the live streams. He's only going to keep getting better at this because he has the gift of gab, and he can still do it at the same time, which is an incredible God-given talent. So we don't need to compare ourselves to James, and we need to just support James and allow him to grow into that and whatever. But the people that can do that, that's a unique thing. Not everybody can. So, but writers in particular, I can feel where Tom's coming at, because that's how my brain works too. I'll have so much stuff happening. Sometimes I have to figure out, because like I said, for things like this, I have to. All right, we'll see. Spoiler alert. Ready? Notes. Like I have to have like a cheat. I have to have bumpers. I have to have some bumpers. That's all. Just hit a few things. It's not overwhelming information. It's just enough. So that's all. So. James says he gets it from his dad. He was a car salesman. Okay. All right. Yeah, mine was a car salesman too. I understand conceptually that challenge. And I will say the biggest thing I would say is, for me, one of the reasons I think that this started to work differently for me is I saw Twitter as a networking tool instead of the cesspool. This is my 3rd go around on Twitter where I've purged things and try to start over. Well, you get political, that's always going to happen. Right. Once I realized it's just basically like a free giant email to the world, and that's how we connected. It's like, oh, this is pretty cool. This is an easy way to schedule things, and this is an easy way to communicate with people. You can start to learn how to, well, lack of a better term, network. You can learn how to network. We can become internet friends. Like this, the geography bubble starts to go away. Like you and James, you're literally on the opposite side of the globe, creating a comic book together. And for how many decades have comic books existed where that was not possible, and now it is? That's freaking crazy. That's insane. Because sure, there were examples. Grant Morrison was in Europe, making comics, and yeah, there's some exceptions, but that wasn't the by and large thing. Now, this is a pretty easy thing for you guys to navigate through. I love it. I think it's freaking great. Yeah,
and I mean, even with that, YouTube is just crazy as far as I mean, it's really like getting on a talk show or something where you can just talk and get your message out there, get your product out there. But yeah, just the old guard, the old walls that used to keep people out are a lot shorter nowadays. So I mean, you can talk to a printing company. You can you can do all this stuff by yourself. You can, just go online, order all the, mailing stuff, and
Right.
you don't need to be like some distributor or like a comic book shop to
Yeah.
like, to get these deals. Like they're just out there. So,
And you can shop around and get a decent price.
mhm.
Like I was struggling with my bubble mailers for some of the stuff I sell on eBay, and I found a guy on eBay on the same platform I'm using, and sure enough, he had like, as long as I'd buy like 100 or more, I could get an incredible price and save so much money. I was like, oh my gosh, why did I not think of looking at it that way? I just, you don't think about sometimes the generic elements, but the internet just made the world so small. So, I don't want to, well, we're not too long on time. We're doing okay. Who inspired Tom? Like, who are the writers or maybe, well, two parts, who are more like the professional writers, the more like that part that inspired you. And then also like, is there like a person in your life that's inspired you? I guess almost two pieces to that, I guess.
Well, okay. I could say it's the George Lucas. I mean, big inspiration. I used to love Star Wars, not so much anymore, but basically since the sequels. Yeah. So, I mean, the first time I saw Star Wars, I loved it and I needed to see more. This was, some 25 years ago probably, but I've never really been much of a reader. Um, when I was in the Marines and I was stationed out in California, Camp Pendleton, and I was never really like into comic books. I watched TV shows, I had action figures, but like I was spending my money on magic cards, not comic books. So so yeah, my friends took me out to Comic Con and just kind of walking around the booths, a lot of cool stuff. But I got into like the darkness, and back to that '90s
Mhm.
Silvestri kind of art
Mhm.
style.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really like that. Not that it was the greatest, series, but um, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Started to change make sure I get what you're saying. It sounds like it started to kind of change your perspective on the storytelling element of a comic book. Because sometimes people look at it as being like, I get a lot of people who think of it as being very juvenile, or they think of like 1966 Batman show, right? Like cheesy, silly, whatever.
Mhm.
And then the converse is, or they get like some weird image and they have in their head of like, Fritz the cat or something, some crazy weird thing. You're like, what are you talking about? So the fact that you were able to grab something like Silvestri is, to me, actually pretty exciting. So that's a good role model to have as your like breakthrough guy. That's pretty good. I like
Yeah.
that.
Um, yeah, so I mean, it just grabbed me, and I mean that like, so this is the big reason I never like really got into comics is that I never knew where to start.
Mm,
Like where do I
okay.
start? I'm big on story and continuity, and if part of the story gets me like sucked in, I want to know it all, right? I want to know
Okay.
every little bit about it. Like before, after, on the side. Like I just want to know. I want to know everything. So that's kind of been, like my self gatekeeping to comics is just for one, it's an investment, but two, like where do I start? How do I find all these books? Like it's just
Yeah, I did my first video really addressing that because I had someone ask me personally about Daredevil because they had heard me talking about the incredibleness of like Frank Miller Daredevil. So I did a video on issue 168, which you could just read 168 and just be blessed beyond belief because it's such a great comic book. And then I did in that video, I tried to include inexpensive ways you can afford to read 168 because it's not the cheapest comic book in the world if you were trying to find an original copy. But I couldn't agree more. And that is a challenge for someone like me to know how to help, Tom. But sometimes I need folks like you to raise your hand and go, listen, I kind of interested in, heard some good things about this or that. Where do I start? And then I kind of have to figure out how to navigate that, because I think that was an area that I wasn't really focusing on in that way. But I think that's a great. You're definitely not alone with that. I guess that's the best way to say my response, because that seems a very common theme. Megan and I have talked about that several times now. We keep talking about, because I try not to overload her. Everyone else likes to keep giving her recommendations or whatever. You're just giving her too much information. And I'm also like the nerdy one that also like thinks of comic books also from like the collecting and the investing standpoint as well. All of those things can live together in my world.
Mm-hmm.
So like she had an original Killing Joke, and she held it up, and I went, whoa, 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 whoa. You might not want to manhandle that one. They bought a hardback version so her and her husband could read it. But I was like, yeah. I mean, I don't think you paid like $5 for that one, right? She's like, no. I said, okay, that's means it's not like a 9th print. That's more like that's probably a first print. Yeah. So So I think there's a fair place with that. Like, how do you help people? Because I have to figure out what you like is the trick, right? So it's like it's a difficult challenge, but it's definitely one of the hardest ones. And since you were inspired so much by him, it seems only appropriate.
Oh,
George Lucas pops in and say, "Hey, see, there you go. See, this is like the screenshot of all screenshots right here." Thank you, my friend. That always makes me smile. It literally always makes. It never gets old. By the way, when that happens, never ever. I love it. I got to do a better job of pausing whatever we're doing to have a George Lucas moment every time that happens. So this goes back to Twitter. James was talking about networking on Twitter. Get so much more activity on Twitter. I've told people this because my normie background and my wife and people I work with are still on Facebook. And I'm like, I'm telling you guys, I'm sorry. I can post stuff on Facebook. Bupkis. I can post links. I can do whatever. It's just, I don't know. They're their own thing with photos and whatever. That's fine. It's not working for me, right? This is not a business per se, hobby / what, but it's not giving me any benefit. So cost benefit with my time. Twitter's is active, and it's people are communicating. Facebook, it's like talking to a wall. I don't want to do it. So
yeah, and I mean, just kind of what I've picked up from, I'd say, comic book Twitter.
Yeah.
And this might, all be anecdotal, but a lot of the writers say that they're on Facebook and not Twitter, whereas more of the artists are on Twitter for whatever reason. I don't know.
I don't know if that's true or not. That's interesting. I know
yeah.
I have more writers on Twitter that have blocked me for no reason at all. I'm such a divisive guy, as you can tell, Tom.
Yes,
I'm horrible that I manhandle it. Hey, James, listen, I'm your guy, though. I can help you out because obviously, and you already took some of the advice I had. You already knew, man. You're an OG. You buy graphic novels. You buy cheap versions. You buy collected versions if you're going to manhandle them. That's fine. Manhandling and reading are two different things for those of you at home as well. So, yeah, they're joking about, sign your boobs. You had to go there, James. It's a PG-13 show. Come on,
wow.
now. You gotta behave. We don't need to have that, James. That's just not right, man. Gotta keep the stream up. You're gonna shut the stream down or something. You start making those kind of references. So listen, I want to just we'll close with one last little walkthrough again for anybody who's catching pieces of it. Maybe George Lucas. Listen, $25 is a fair price for a 60-page book. There's 3 different versions, whether you like the different style art on the covers or you like the black and white, which I love black and white. I just realized, how much I like that. So, and tons of little perks and things like that. And also get, some of the original work. Just great samples on here. That link is there. I'm going to throw it back in again. So I can say I did my part, making sure I'm doing it. I probably still don't do it. Still didn't do it enough. The rule of thumb of radio was that if you had a book author, you were trying to say the name of the book 7 times, which was next to impossible.
Oh, wow.
It's freaking crazy trying to do that. But
so like next campaign, definitely going to market it differently.
Mm-hmm.
As some of the things I said before, borderline parody, borderline, some slight social commentary, but I mean, really, and who am I? Just just nobody. But I mean, there really is a culture war going on, right? And not
Yes.
to make this, you know,
There's an overlap. We can't deny there's not a pop culture war. I've said it before. It just is. Sorry, guys, it is.
yeah, and I mean, Webster is changing the definition of words, the meaning of words. You know, IPs are getting bought up and characters are getting dragged through the mud. Like, uh, I mean, they are tearing down history.
Mhm.
And and while it might not be the I might not be putting my foot down the hardest or drawing the biggest line in the sand or whatever, but yeah, I mean, so even the title is anti SJW. Uh, I'm going to respect some characters while, like I said, skirting the copyright law. Um, as a writer, I need to um, I need to get these words on paper before they change the meaning of these words. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
that's good stuff. Yeah, that's good
So
stuff. Yeah, I like
so
that.
so I mean that's where I'm coming from, but I'm also trying to practice restraint, right? I'm also trying to uh s- I will sell to whoever. I will sell to both sides. You know what I mean? Like, this is not
Sure.
uh only one side will appreciate it. I mean, uh I say it's anti SJW, but then it's a female lead character, and uh, you know, maybe not down with the patriarchy, but like, the patriarchy is in charge and everything sucks. Like, there's and men are making laws on what women can do with their. Well, those sound like modern problems. You know, modern lefty problem kind of, writer
Hmm.
problems. So there is there 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 will be something for everyone, but like, the goal is to kind of meet people more in the middle. um take shots at both sides, but um
But if you're dealing
again.
with timeless morals and principles and things like that, it doesn't really matter. It's going to work itself out. Like, I mean, I know there can be agendas and there can be different messaging and things like that, but I have a hard time too where I take some shots because, like, I just did a review of Hellraiser. Everyone's been pretty kind to me. I only had one message so far, but it's like, is it really woke? And I went through like pieces of, if you mean woke by this, then I guess, but we could also look at it this way. Like, oh, here's a better example. I had rewatched Alien vs. Predator recently. And through 2022 lens, when you have a little bit of woke PTSD, this film can come across as very, very woke with a strong Mary Sue female lead and an alpha female soldier, and you have all these little elements that in 2022 standards seems very, very woke, but obviously it's not. It's just the nature of that's the story. This is how they put the story together. This is how it played out. And I don't think there's anything wrong with you coming at it and communicating who Tom is and who Tom was and life experiences. And there's going to be a lot of James in that through his art. And, are you going to step on some toes? Yeah, sure. Probably. But you know what? You're not going to make everybody happy anyway. So you might as well do whatever the heck you want to do. Because reality is somebody's going to be ticked.
Mhm.
You can't be dishonest to your vision and your dream just because you think somebody might not get mad, because you're going to make someone else mad anyway. So James did say, by the way, that he would kindly spray your some cologne in the box if it will give us incentive to buy. And he reminded us all there was also a poster, poker chip, and a bookmark. And then Chris Persia put him in his place and reminded him that the appropriate term is moobs, and then offered up my services to sign your man's ear, which I got to be honest, I'll be at the Orlando meetup in a couple weeks. If you are there, James, and you would like me to sign your man's ear, I guess I'm game. I'll do it. I have no shame.
You're gonna be in Orlando.
I am going to be in Orlando. Yes.
Mm,
Yes, sir.
So will I. Me and James and
James is
some other
coming too.
people. Yep.
Oh,
Yes,
it's
sir.
freaking great. You guys message me. Let me know when you're. I'm only going to be there Sunday. I'm not coming in early or being able to stay. I got to drive in, drive out. Be there with
Gotcha.
Mrs. Pops, as Magitech Mags labeled her on the stream. So Mrs. Pops will be there, and everyone can be Mrs. Pops, who is the least nerdy person who will be at this meetup in many, many ways, I think.
So you're only going to be there Sunday, or do you know if you're going to the first or the second?
Oh, it's the
meetup?
morning. It's the morning ticket, but we'll probably just be there. Like whenever we get there, we're there. Then we'll just kind of hang out. It's like a hotel or something, so we'll just kind of hang out and get something to eat with somebody and just chat and whatever. And I had to kind of prep her a little bit, Tom. Like, I mean, yeah, I'm there because G&G and Nerdrotics doing their thing, but those aren't my closest friends. Those aren't my closest colleagues, really. Like, I wouldn't have done this if Gary didn't kind of give me permission, because Gary had to actually say certain things about, well, don't be worried if you're saying the same thing I'm saying. We need more people to say that so they eventually hear us. I had to have him give me permission to say certain things where we agreed. Otherwise, I wouldn't do a video. So I can't tell you how many times I didn't do a video because he had already said what was in my head.
Really?
Yeah. I get a $20 super chat and I kind of asked the question and they discussed it. And I don't know if he was on with just Az. I know Az was there. I don't know if there's a third person or not. And it was like more voices than barrier, say the same things. It was like, I'm like, okay. I'm good. I know it sounds, I know here I'm this old man who needed some permission from another old man to kind of say, it's crazy, huh? So I'll need a big marker, James. You don't scare me, bro. I'll bring a Sharpie. You don't scare me. So he'll be there for a while. That's pretty great. By the way, message me on that too. If you're going to come in, I don't know what the 24th is, but if you'll be out in the Tampa area, let me know. Might be able to meet up that week as well. Never know.
I got a friend or two from Tampa that are supposed to. Yeah. So what, you're like an hour or two away from Orlando?
Well, I work in Tampa, so that's where I'm at right now. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday or so. That's why I stream here in town. We bought a 30-acre farm in the middle of nowhere, and I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean literally, like by design. Like if you don't have AT&T, you won't have cell service there, kind of thing.
Oh wow. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a 2-hour drive in, 2-hour drive back from the farm, but it's mostly because there's no through road. Like it's just not a straight line. It's really why it takes so long. Not because it's really that far. But yeah, no, I'll be there Sunday. Mrs. Pops wants to come. This has been great. She came on my celebration stream. They talk about like throwing not only the girl in the mix, but like throwing the Uber nerd's wife in the mix. And all these questions, and it was actually kind of fun. She just didn't expect it all to come out of them. Like I was like, well, yeah, they don't know that. They want to ask you like, well, how I get myself in trouble and when's the last time I had to sleep on the couch, and that's the kind of stuff they want to know. And they were just probably disappointed. Oh yeah, they don't care. Like these are people are making me watch Sharks in the Corn, bro. Are you kidding me? Chats aren't kind. No, I love you guys in chat. You guys make this all so much fun. So it's freaking great. So let's see. Knowing is half the battle, or at least in terms of a joke. Okay, so promote and follow Pop's lead and talk hard. Yes, brother. Thank you so much. Yeah, you just got to be honest, man. Talk hard, walk hard. Yeah, bro. Hold your head up, chest out. Just be honest with people. Don't have to be an a-hole. Just be honest with people. When I review your book, I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to be, jackwagon about it, but just be honest with you when I talk about your book. I'm not going to, and people can pick up on it. You watch enough of my reviews, you'll figure out, oh yeah, he really didn't like that. Or as long as I have to say it, like there's sometimes where you're just like, okay, this didn't go well. It's okay.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, is that a question for me, James? Has she ever thrown an item of food? I'm sure she had. We've been married for 23 years. But I don't think she's thrown food at me like, I hate your guts. Here's a tomato. Like, I think it was more like, I made a joke or I did something and it was like, hit me with a fry or something like that. It's not really the best answer you wanted to hear. She didn't like pour a milkshake on my head or anything like that. She just
no pies to the face. No,
no pie. I think we probably have done some sort of, give each other a bite. And she thought it'd be funny to like smear it on you a little bit or something, trying to be coy or silly or whatever. I'm sure that's happened. I don't remember anything really that jumps out, but I have a memory that doesn't hold that stuff well. That doesn't, she'll remind me when she prompts me, I'll remember, but yeah, she'd be the better person to ask about that. So, but stir up your questions for Mrs. Pop. She'll be put on the spot and she'll be embarrassed. And I enjoyed that part too. So Favorite quote is from Whiplash. There are no two words in English language more harmful than good job. Good job. My worst word is the word fine. I hate the word fine. Things that are fine. How you doing? Fine. Ugh. That is such a generic, vanilla, fill in the blank word. Like it's kind of down there with like nice. Just a generic. Things can be nice. It's like, ugh. Keely Chow, how you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well.
Hello. We
were talking about this comic book. Last shot. Take one look at it. Links there, and consider it, folks. It's great. It just this is the Iron Age. I love it. I love the idea that we'd have a different look, a different feel, different story, a universe that's being built one book at a time. We're like basically like ready to print, man. So for you guys. Man, I really do hope if even you have to have someone else, get on someone else's show to do it or something like that, open up that first one or something. Capture those moments because it won't happen again. You know what I mean? It's like capture that moment. It's like your baby is going to arrive soon.
Yeah, I might do that. Might do something with that, but yeah, definitely for sure. Gonna be exciting. Gonna be printing next week. Hopefully getting in hand just before the Orlando. Should have some copies down there for some people. But
that's awesome. You just bring me mine.
I can do that now that I know you're gonna be there. But that's up to you if you're cool with that.
I'll message you. We'll communicate about that. Figure that out. That sounds good. So Chris Burgess says, thankful that nobody ever said, "Aren't you special?" Oh, that's an interesting idea, James. Let's open some up in Orlando. That'd be interesting.
Whoa.
All right. Man, yeah, we'll see. So, all right. Well, listen, folks, all the links are there in the description. It's been great getting to know Tom as well, and I'll probably have James back relatively soon. We'll figure that out. Of course, he already's heard me talk about how my schedule is just it's bonkers. I'm very limited when I can stream. Obviously, that's part of the problem. But everybody has been super cool with that, and getting to know so many different people, getting to know people like you, the creatives. I love that so much, and really look forward to this, man. And I'm really, really excited that this, like, a couple weeks, man. You're talking about having something physically in hand. That's that's scary and exhilarating for you. I know, but I'm also like super excited for you. Like it's both. I got it. So that's freaking awesome. Thanks for hanging out with us, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me on and supporting what we're doing here. Nobody owes us anything, but just for you taking the time and reaching out, and even with rescheduling and all that, it was great to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm glad we got it to work. Let's say goodbye to the chat. We love you guys. Thank you so much. You make this worth doing. Appreciate it so much. As I always say, be blessed. Make tomorrow better than today. And don't forget, you got to put a little smile on your face. Go out with a little Bob Ross.
Bob Ross. All I do is chill. My life is a thrill, for real, Bob Ross. I be too calm for the drama. You don't want to cause a